Evil creatures, the result of human greed and discord, break free and turn almost all people to stone. To save humanity, a brave girl sets out to find the last dragon, which has been missing for centuries. Today we will recap the story of the 2021 movie, Raya and the Last Dragon. 500 years ago, the whole world lived in harmony. The land was fertile and people worked together to develop Kumandra, a conglomeration of 5 kingdoms that together formed the shape of a dragon. Among humans, there were also dragons, magical creatures that brought water, rain and peace to humanity. But then came the Druids, a plague that spreads like wildfire and multiplies while consuming lives, turning everyone it touches to stone. Dragons sacrificed themselves fighting for humans, and in the end, they too were turned to stone. However, Sisu, the last dragon, focused all his magic on one gem and managed to eliminate all the Druids. On that day, all who had turned to stone came back to life, except the dragons. In the end, all that was left of Sisu was his jewel. This event should have made people even more united in gratitude for Sisu's sacrifice, but what actually happened was the exact opposite. The realms began to fight each other to possess the last remnant of dragon magic. Boundaries were created and Kumandra split. Everyone became enemies and the jewel had to be hidden. 500 years later, Raya enters this story and the situation in the world gets even worse. The girl belongs to the Heart Realm and is being trained by her father to become the next guardian of the Dragon Gem. Her mission now is to dodge all the traps in the cave and get to the top of the mountain, where the jewel was hidden. With the help of Tuk Tuk, her loyal friend, the young woman manages to cross the cave without being captured. She opens the gate and makes her way to the magic sphere. However, Raya notices that the mission is very easy to perform and soon Benja appears to prevent the girl from approaching the altar. He promises that the girl will not touch a single finger on the dragon jewel circle and Raya accepts this as a challenge. They exchange blows. The man uses his sword and the young woman attacks him back with her pair of bamboos. However, Benja manages to disarm her and declares that this is the end of the line. What he didn't realize is that the girl managed to touch one of her feet in the circle and therefore won the challenge. Her father, the leader of that kingdom, is proud and claims that the girl has passed the test. Now she will continue her family's legacy and become the newest guardian of the Dragon Gem. Later that day, Benja informs them that the leaders of the other lands are heading to Heart. Raya is surprised by the news and hatches a plan to defeat them. Then, her father reveals that the other kingdoms are going there at his invitation to participate in a celebration. The girl is confused. After all, those people are her enemies. However, Benja claims that the other lands are only enemies at heart because they believe their prosperity comes from the power of the Dragon Gem, which is a huge mistake. The man's aim in inviting his enemies into his home is to try to convince them to reinstate Kumandra. He believes that if humans don't learn to trust each other again, it's only a matter of time before everyone is harmed. The leaders of the other 4 kingdoms arrive at the palace and the situation is tense. Everyone wants to understand the real reason they were invited and start accusing Benja of having stolen the dragon's jewel. The man tries to calm people's tempers, but the argument gets even more heated. So, Raya decides to break the silence and asks who is hungry. Namari, daughter of Varana, the leader of Fang, approaches the girl and soon they identify a common characteristic. They are both dragon nerds. During the party, the girls talk about dragons and Raya reveals that she is a fan of Sisu. Namari says that in her lands there are rumors that she is still alive. The young woman opens a scroll, where she states that, after eliminating all the Druids, Sisu fell into the water and floated downstream. Legend has it that she is now sleeping at the bottom of some river. Raya is thrilled to imagine the possibility of meeting Sisu, so humans could unite again. Namari decides to give her new friend a gift and gives her her dragon necklace. As an act of gratitude, Raya decides to take the girl up the mountain and show her the dragon gem. Perhaps this was the biggest mistake the girl made in her entire life. As soon as Namari spots the jewel, her first reaction is to knock Raya down and try to steal her. However, Raya gets up and promises that she will fulfill her mission to protect the jewel. When she realizes she isn't strong enough to defeat her, Namari uses a flare to get her family's attention. Minutes later, the soldiers appear and Benja appears soon after. The man manages to defeat the prey soldiers, but soon after, members of the other realms appear. As everyone argues, Benja tries, through his speech, to convince them to unite again. At that moment, he is attacked and an arrow pierces his leg. Seeing that the leader of Heart was injured, the other kingdoms try to steal the jewel and it ends up being broken. At that moment, the ground begins to crack and the cave collapses. Suddenly, a Druid appears and attacks a warrior, turning him to stone. The creature starts to multiply and Benja uses a piece of the dragon gem to fend them off. Noticing that the gem's magic still works, each kingdom steals a shard of the stone and everyone flees. While trying to escape, Raya and her father realize that those monsters are repelled by water. They manage to reach the bridge, but those creatures are getting stronger and more numerous. Due to the wound on his leg, Benja knows he won't be able to escape. So he gives his dragon jewel shard to his daughter and throws her into the river. While falling, Raya sees her father being turned to stone. 6 years have passed since that terrifying day, and the young woman continues her journey in search of Sisu. This time, she is in tail along with Tuk Tuk, which is now gigantic. The animal transports Raya across the desert. On the way, all they find is a sea of sand and stones. After a long journey, they finally reach the last river of the 5 kingdoms. The girl had already searched all the other rivers and hadn't found the dragon. That was her last hope of fixing the world and seeing her father again. While they were distracted, an evil Droon appears and attacks them, but Raya uses her dragon gem shard to fend him off. Then the girl breaks into the wreckage of a shipwreck and performs a ritual to summon Sisu's spirit. At that moment, something strange happens. Tuk Tuk was quenching his thirst in the river when he notices that the water has started to float. The bubbles unite and Sisu appears. The dragon is far more naive and clumsy than Raya could have imagined, but she is happy to see the girl, as it means her sacrifice has worked and humans are no longer stone. However, Raya gives her the bad news and informs her that it was her fault that the dragon stone was broken and the Druins were on the loose again. The girl asks Sisu to make another gem, but the dragon reveals that she didn't create the artifact, she just used it to defeat the monsters. When taking the fragment that was with Raya, Sisu starts to glow and states that that is the power of Amba, her younger sister. Each dragon has a special ability and hers was swimming, as she is a water dragon. When she realizes that Sisu is still connected to the jewel's magic, the girl suggests that they go after the missing pieces, so the dragon could ride it and use its power to save the world. Meanwhile, Namari and her gang are after Raya and the girl finds an object lying in the sand. Soon she recognizes that artifact and remembers that it belongs to Raya. Mounted on their giant cats, they descend to the wreck and start looking for the girl who had stolen the dragon scroll. But by then, Raya was long gone. The next mission is to retrieve the piece of jewelry that was taken by Tail on that fateful day. For this, they head to a cave that was full of traps. After crossing the tangle of ropes, they find a luminous insect and Raya asks Sisu to be careful because that is a toot and boom. Seconds later, the animal explodes and the dragon understands the real reason for its name. Further on, they find a corridor full of those insects and they have to be very careful when crossing to avoid being attacked. After facing these challenges, they finally find the shard of the stone they were looking for. The artifact was entwined in a tree along with the remains of the leader of that realm. To get there, Raya and Sisu need to cross a place full of sharp rocks. The girl uses her extender sword to grab the ceiling and cross with the dragon. Raya realizes that if she picks up the stone, she will fall into a trap. So, she decides to use a stick to keep the skeleton's arms still in the same position as she picks up the jewel. Their plan worked and they now have 2 shards. When touching that piece of jewelry, Sisu turns into a woman. Her sister, Prani, has the ability to shapeshift. Now that power is under Sisu's dominion. Seconds later, Namari appears with her gang and asks what Raya is up to. She is surprised to see that the girl has finally got a new friend. The cat girl wants to know why Raya is stealing the pieces of jewelry and the young girl claims that she is only doing it for power. Raya returns the dragon scroll from the kingdom of Fang as she knows this is why Namari is after her. However, the girl still orders her guards to capture her enemy. To escape this situation, Raya's only option is to trigger the trap and, in this way, buy time so that she and Sisu can escape. They make it through the gate, but Namari follows close behind. Raya uses a toot and boom to distract the girl and runs to Tuk Tuk. At that moment, they start being chased and Raya has the brilliant idea of jumping into the river, because, like Druins, cats don't like water. Luckily, there was a small boat nearby. When they board it, they are greeted by a boy who serves them some snacks. Bone owns that boat and uses it as a restaurant for a living as his entire family has been turned to stone. Seeing their enemies approaching, Raya offers the boy money to take them to Talon. Sisu decides to help and uses her skills as a water dragon to take the boat away from shore. Now that everyone is safe, the dragon takes the opportunity to swim a little. However, Raya asks her to return to human form so she doesn't risk having her secret revealed. On the way back to Fang, Namari encounters the dragons that have turned to stone. After bowing to them, she continues her journey. During the night, the boat is surrounded by dozens of Druins, but the group remains in the water, therefore, it is protected. After crossing the channel, they arrive at Talon and Raya claims she knows where the jewel piece is. The girl asks Sisu to stay on the boat, so she would be safe. While walking with Tuk Tuk through the city, a trio of monkeys spot the young girl and soon hatch a plan to steal her. While passing through a dark alley, Raya finds a baby and tries to help him find his parents. At that moment, the monkeys approach the giant insect and offer him some fruit. When Raya realizes, her pieces of the dragon gem are being stolen. Noi, the girl who was on her lap, attacks her and runs away with the monkeys. At that moment, the young woman realizes that she has been tricked by a child. While waiting, Sisu decides to go shopping to take as a gift to Dang Hai, the leader of Talon, but remembers that she has no money. So, Bone suggests that she put it on the bill. He explains that this is like a promise. Sisu would buy now and promise to pay later. The dragon is excited by the idea and goes out buying everything she sees. A few minutes later, the merchants start to confront her and claim that she has no account in that city because no one knows her. They order her to pay what she owes. At that time, a nice lady appears to save her and asks the girl to accompany her. On the other side of town, Raya is still after the little monsters that stole her pieces of the jewel. She chases them for a few minutes and, with the help of Tuk Tuk, manages to capture them. As they have nowhere else to run, the thieves decide to return the girl's belongings and Raya asks where the girl's family is. One of the monkeys informs them that they have turned to stone and, heartbroken to see that situation, the girl decides to help them. Raya asks them to distract the guards while she breaks into the castle. In exchange, they could eat all they wanted on Bone's boat. When she arrives at Dang Hai's palace, the young woman discovers that the man has turned to stone, therefore, the piece of jewelry was with Dang Hu. Sisu informs her that she was looking for some gifts to deliver to Dan Hai, the head of that kingdom. So the old woman promises to take her to him. However, when she walks through the gates, she finds that everyone there has turned to stone. A drone appears and tries to attack her, but is repelled by the piece of jewelry in Dang Hu's hands. The woman orders Sisu to tell her where she can find the other pieces of jewelry and the girl is disappointed that she has been tricked. As far as she could remember, humanity was fair and trustworthy, but that was all in the past. The woman threatens to arrest her there if she doesn't give her the information she needs. However, luckily for Sisu, Raya and Tuk Tuk show up to save her. The girl steals the piece of the jewel from the woman's hands and gives it to Sisu, who, by touching it, acquires the power of her brother Jagan's Mist. When they arrive at the boat, they find Bone serving food to the girl and her monkey friends. Now that the quest is complete, they make their way towards the next realm. In Fang, Varana receives bad news from her general. The woman claims they are running out of space and need to expand to the mainland. The problem is, by doing so, the entire realm would be susceptible to the threat of the Druins. At that time, Namari appears and informs them that he may have the solution they need. The girl informs her that she found Raya and discovered that she is collecting the other pieces of the gem. Her plan was to take the royal army to the Kingdom of Spine to intercept it. Varana, her mother, accepts the young woman's request and orders the general to prepare the royal army so that Namari can command it. Back on the boat, Sisu is thoughtful. She says it's hard to be a human being because people have small heads, no tails and lie to get what they want. Upon hearing this, Raya states that the world is destroyed, therefore, no one can be trusted. But Sisu counters by saying that perhaps the world is destroyed precisely because people don't trust each other. At that time, Raya remembers her father, because he thought like Sisu and ended up being stabbed in the back. When they arrive in Spine, Sisu takes a pot filled with delicious food that Bone had prepared and runs away. Raya goes after her and the dragon claims that she will prove to the girl that she is wrong. But when they approach the gates, they both end up being captured and tied up inside the cabin of a completely bizarre guy. However, Raya soon realizes that he is just a lonely man looking for company. Tuk Tuk and the rest of the team break into the cabin and the monkeys tie up Tong. Bone informs her that Namari and her army are at the gates and Raya soon hears the girl's voice. She orders the people of Spine to hand over Raya, otherwise they will invade the kingdom. Looking out the window, Raya realizes that the entire population has been turned to stone and Tong reveals that he is the only survivor of the battle against the Druins. Raya asks her friends to flee while she distracts Namari and the others. Before leaving, she asks Tong to help her friends escape through another exit and gives him her vote of confidence. The girl opens the gates and both face each other. Raya uses her father's sword to fight and disarm her enemy, but ends up being knocked down soon after. She gets up and engages in hand-to-hand combat with Namari. At that time, Raya is defeated and Sisu decides to come back to help her. The dragon uses its mist to cover the warrior's vision and comes face to face with Namari. The girl gets emotional to see Sisu alive and is completely speechless. So, Raya takes the moment to run away. Now that their new friends have discovered that Sisu is a dragon, they decide to join them in their quest to fix the world. Tong hands over his piece of the jewel and Sisu acquires the rain magic, which belongs to her older brother Pengu. She uses the raindrops to form a ladder and ascend to the heavens. After having fun for a few minutes, she falls into the water. Later, Sisu takes Raya to Heart, her homeland. From above, she manages to see the statue of her father and, when she realizes it, she is already on the mountain where Benja hid the dragon jewel. Sisu informs that, 500 years ago, it was there that everything happened. She presents the statues of her brothers and tells them that they were the last dragons. In the battle against the Druids, all the dragons were turned to stone, except for Sisu and her brothers. However, Pengu, her older brother, refused to accept defeat and decided to make one last attempt. They united their powers in a sphere that later became known as the Dragon's Gem. Finally, they chose Sisu to take possession of the jewel and save that world. She says she doesn't know why she was chosen, however, she knew she trusted them and they trusted her. When Sisu felt her brother's faith in her, she grew stronger than she could ever have imagined and thus managed to banish the Druids from the Earth's surface. After revealing her story, Sisu asks Raya to trust Namari again, as this could be the solution they were looking for. Now the group must head to Fang in search of the last piece of the dragon gem. Namari arrives at her kingdom and informs her mother about the dragon that was with Raya. She claims that Sisu can fix everything they destroyed and bring everyone back. Then Varana claims that when everyone is back to normal, Fang's kingdom will be persecuted as the other lands blame them for what happened. So, the woman asks Namari to be calm, as she already has an action plan to put into practice. That night, Raya decides to follow Sisu's plan and ask for Namari's help. At her request, Noi and the monkeys bring the girl a package containing the dragon necklace along with a note. While having dinner on the boat, Raya and her friends see Namari's signal and go to find her. The girl has the piece of jewelry and gives it to Raya. At that moment, Sisu appears and intends to unite all the pieces of the jewel to bring people back. However, this was just another trap by Namari. She points a crossbow at Raya and orders the girl to hand over all the pieces of the jewel. Sisu tries to change her mind, but Raya realizes that Namari is about to shoot and uses her sword to try to stop her. At that moment, the dragon is hit in the chest and falls into the water. So, Namari takes her piece of the jewel and runs away. The water that surrounded that realm begins to disappear. Without the last dragon, the humans lost the only resource they had to stop the Druids. The evil creatures approach the palace and Raya, blinded with rage, goes after Namari. As everyone fled, she breaks into the castle and confronts the girl. Her mother had just turned to stone and they both start a duel. They exchange a few sword blows and Raya's friends use the other gem shards to save the residents of Fang. The palace is crumbling, but still, Raya's wrath keeps her from leaving until she defeats her greatest enemy. The girl manages to disarm Namari and is about to kill her, but decides to leave when she sees her friends fighting outside. She joins them and helps save those people. As they were about to cross the gate, the Druids surround Tuk Tuk, but the animal is saved by Namari. Suddenly, the ground beneath them collapses and the Druids manage to surround them. Raya finds Sisu's necklace and remembers what the dragon said. She remembers that the most important factor that allowed Sisu to save the world was trust. Both her trust in her brothers and her brothers' trust in her. So, Raya asks them to give her their jewels, as the only way to fix the world is to trust each other. However, her friends claim that it is impossible to trust Namari after all she has done. So, Raya decides to take the first step. She hands over her piece of jewelry to the girl and accepts her fate. Seeing this, her friends decide to do the same and give their piece of the jewel to Namari. One by one, they join Raya and turn to stone. Namari sees an exit and thinks about escaping from there. However, she gives up on this idea and decides to stay to reassemble the jewel. However, her plan doesn't work and the dragon gem goes out. Namari joins Raya and is also turned to stone. Minutes later, when the Druids are gone, the gem glows again and dissipates its magic. The Druids are exterminated and all those who have turned to stone are returned to normal, including the dragons. The water fountains start gushing again and Raya is reunited with Tuk Tuk. In the hills, dragons appear coloring the sky. They gather at the lake and perform a ritual that brings Sisu back. She joins her siblings and then heads towards Raya to thank her. Namari and the rest of the team are nearby and the dragon wraps them in a hug. After saying goodbye, each of them can return to their kingdom and see their family again. Tong is reunited with his wife and son, Noi returns to her parents, and Bone is back to his siblings. Raya and Tuk Tuk arrive in Heart and the girl is finally able to see her father again. Sisu appears soon after and informs him that Raya has brought some friends. At that instant, the leaders and inhabitants of all the other realms appear and gather to form the new Kumandra.